I made a video about Colonial Williamsburg, just the general experience, but I want to focus now on the Colonial Williamsburg ghost tour. Colonial Williamsburg is the world's largest living history museum, with buildings and things restored to their proper 1700 state. Williamsburg, Virginia was the capital of Virginia when things started rolling for the American Revolution. There's a lot of old buildings there. When there's old buildings and when people die, there tends to be ghost stories. After operational hours, they have an upcharge thing called the Colonial Williamsburg Ghost Tour. They split you into groups, and you go into 4 different old buildings, and you go inside the buildings, and they tell you these creepy ghost stories. They don't like say, oh, for sure there's the ghosts here. They just kind of tell you what other people have experienced in the past. We went to 4 different houses. They were the Getty house, the George Wythe house, the Everard House, and the Randolph House. The Randolph House is apparently the most haunted place in all of Virginia, but we'll get to that. Let's start off by talking about the Getty house. Even though Colonial Williamsburg is supposed to be in the 18th century, the ghosts that have been reported might not always be from that time period. People lived in these houses for years. I'm not gonna like confirm or deny these ghosts or whatever. I'm just gonna tell you what I learned on this tour. At the Getty house, there's like a wailing baby ghost and there's kid ghosts. Apparently the employees say that doors upstairs will open and close and they hear laughing children, and that they come in during the day and toys that they have for the modern day guests are scattered all over the floor. That house really wasn't freaky. Then we go to the Everard house. There's apparently 2 ghosts who live there. We were told that one of the ghosts was like this dance instructor from back in the day. Sometimes out of this particular window, you will hear a harpsichord at night just playing. I was listening for a harpsichord, but I didn't hear anything. That dance instructor guy is from the 18th century. Apparently there's a 16-year-old from the 19th century who drowned 4 miles away, and he's seen crying at the top of the staircase. We actually took a tour of that house. We actually met 2 other groups who had done the ghost tour previously, and they'd heard different versions of the harpsichord story. One of the other people said in their group they heard that the harpsichord dude was actually the ghost of like a slave or something, and the other one, it was like the ghost of this girl who lived there. I don't know. I'm gonna go with the dance instructor dude because that is what I heard, and I thought it sounded cool, and I'm just gonna roll with it. We were then supposed to go to the George Wythe house. I can't say that. However, I don't really know what happened. We were standing outside, and they're like, psych, we're not going there, we're going to the palace. The palace, if you don't know, is like the biggest building around. It was the governor's palace. I don't think on this tour you normally go into the palace, but we go into the palace and it's like so dark in there. There's like no light. There's like long hallways off into the distance. The air to me felt very stale. Like it was very strange, and I was like, I don't think this means anything, but because I'm on a ghost tour and I want to be freaked out, I'm gonna go with it here. The palace was used in the 19th century as like a hospital for soldiers. When they're doing excavation efforts, like in the 30s, they found like 158 like buried bodies, I believe, and they reburied them, but they're still in the palace area. And all of the haunting things there apparently are these ghosts from the Civil War. Apparently they took soldiers that have been found in the backyard and they put them in a mound on the side of a hill next to a river in the palace. And I went and I looked for the grave area, but I didn't see anything marked. It doesn't mean it wasn't marked, it just means I couldn't find it. Apparently there's like Civil War soldiers and they're like blob shapes. Like the stories that we heard, they didn't see facial features on these things. So, you know, those 3 houses, they were interesting, but what I really want to talk about is the Randolph House. It's apparently the most haunted place in all of Virginia. I walked into the Randolph House and I just felt it wasn't good. I just felt really weird. I just felt like we shouldn't be there. You know, I kind of felt like we were talking about things we shouldn't mess with. Like, and that was very unexpected. There's this one story about these 2 girl ghosts who would run around. A lot of, you know, times apparently security had been called in because at night things would happen in the house. Employees would think that somebody had broken into the house, but it was apparently these ghosts or whatever. And more recent times found 2 little girls in the backyard buried. They figured out who these two little girls were, and they reburied them with their families who were a few miles away. And apparently after that, the little girl ghost stopped showing up. Everything I learned, you just kind of take with like a grain of salt. As far as me and ghosts, I'm not gonna believe it unless I see it or someone really trustworthy tells me that something happened. So